everybody, and welcome to Carving Up Live right here on YouTube as well as on Twitch, Facebook, X, and on Instagram. I am Bryson Carver. It is fantastic to be with you on a Wednesday where we've got so much to talk about. We got NFL, we got NBA, we've got some college football. A college football segment that, by the way, I teased on Monday's show. I wanted to do it on Monday's show, but I didn't have the requisite time to do enough prep to do the segment justice. So I decided, you know what? One of my favorite segments of the week is Carving Up the Context, which normally is 30 minutes in the show. It's actually be 45 minutes of the show. I'll tell you why in just a moment. But a Diego Pavia sort of breakdown. Why this dude, I almost said kid. He's not a kid. He's 23 years old. He's older than me. Why he has got to be the single dumbest businessman I think I've ever seen in my life. With the most recent weekend he had with the Vanderbilt quarterback being a Heisman Trophy finalist. Get into that. Also talk about Bryson's best 10, my top 10 teams in the NFL. Bryson's MVP ladder, my top 5 MVP candidates. Not much has changed of a top, more so in the middle. Get to that. Tua Tagovailoa gets benched for Quinn Ewers, who y'all know, going back to the draft, I was not a big Quinn Ewers fan. That tells you what the Dolphins think of Tua. Quinn Ewers is a 7th-round pick. Get to that. The NBA Cup, everybody's just a bunch of party poopers pooping on the NBA Cup. No one's saying it's equivalent to an NBA championship. Y'all got to stop hating. I'll get to that later in today's show. But Sal Campisi is going to be joining in about 30 minutes or so. Content creator. He was also alongside me and 8 other content creators debating the Carmelo Anthony episode for House of Highlights, which is going to be coming out in the future. I talked about that on Monday's show. We will certainly promote the heck out of it once it is available on YouTube. So very, very excited about all of those things. But first, did you think I was going to go this hour and a half show or however long we're going to be doing the show today without mentioning the fact that, hey, they got another W. The Pittsburgh Steelers. They won on Monday. Obviously, we don't do shows on Tuesday. We do it on Wednesday. So technically, they say Victory Tuesday. But here on Carving Up, it's a black and yellow Victory Wednesday. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. So the Pittsburgh Steelers won the other night 28-15 against the Miami Dolphins. Eliminated Miami from the playoff contention that maybe ended Tua Tagovailoa's Dolphins career, which we'll talk about in 10 minutes or so. But for Pittsburgh, the thing that made me feel so happy inside, because watching this game, I obviously picked my Steelers going in, 3-point favor at home. It's 17 degrees. We know Tua in cold weather. They don't win. He doesn't win very much. The Miami Dolphins, I said on the show on Monday when I predicted this game, the Dolphins have won a grand total of 2 games in their history since 1966, by the way, in which the temperatures were below 20 degrees. So the Dolphins don't win in cold weather. Tua's not good in cold weather. That boded well for the Steelers. What I love, though, let's start with the defense, and I'll probably be a little hard on the defense in a few minutes, so you'll see why. But the fact the Pittsburgh Steelers defense completely held the Miami Dolphins in check. A Dolphins team that in their 4-game winning streak, I think was like the best rushing team in the NFL in that span with Devon Achane and even Jalen Wright getting involved in the action. Like Mike McDaniel, we'll talk about him later, has really, you can tell he's from the Kyle Shanahan tree. He has really instituted a pro running game into the system. Steelers held him to 63 yards rushing. I didn't think Miami necessarily committed to the run that much early, but the Pittsburgh Steelers said, hey, you're not going to torch us over the course of this game. They stopped the run. Offensively, for the majority of this game, this is just it's going to be like a 20-14 win, and I guess I'm happy because end of the first half, all the way into the third quarter and the fourth quarter, Pittsburgh Steelers, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 consecutive touchdown drives led by a guy who I thought had a great night, one Aaron Rodgers, and I believe we do have Aaron's numbers. Do we have Aaron's stat line? Here we go. Aaron Rodgers' numbers against the Miami Dolphins. He was really good. 2 touchdowns, no picks, 85% completion, 23 of 27 to be exact, 224 passing yards, a 125.9 rating, which is excellent. A QBR of 0 to 158. I'm a big fan of the QBR statistic because I think it takes your whole performance into context and isn't just, hey, blank sheet, box score, what did you do? QBR actually comes out about 3-4 hours after the game is over. Aaron Rodgers, 58. That feels fair. I thought he was accurate. I thought he had a lot of zip on the ball. We know Aaron, unlike Tua, is used to playing in cold weather. There was a couple of throws over the middle to DK Metcalf where it's like, God, Aaron's still got a legit arm on him. And DK's breaking tackles. He's stiff-arming Dolphins, taking it to the house. Loved what I saw from the Pittsburgh Steelers passing game. I love what I saw from the Steelers running game. Jalen Warren, we know he'd been in the injury report, had been dealing with an illness. Kenneth Gainwell's had some pretty good games this year. Was a good get. Kudos to Armar Khan picking him up from the defending champion Philadelphia Eagles. Over 120 yards of total offense for him. Steelers ran for well over 100 yards against the Dolphins. Like, all of those things I love to see. I love to see the fact that he had our fourth-string left tackle in, holding his own over against Bradley Chubb. Love to see that. But then I got to thinking, okay, Steelers are 8-6. Rest of the way, you got Detroit next week, Cleveland Browns, and then a game against Baltimore, which really depends on what happens with the Ravens over the course of the next 2 weeks. Could decide the AFC North. When I look at that schedule, I'm like, Tomlin's going to get that non-losing season again, isn't he? Like, that streak is just, it will not die. The dumbest streak in all of American professional sports have called on the show, because in the last 9 years, the Steelers have won a grand total of 0 playoff games. So when I got to thinking about this, and I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but I don't feel any differently about the Steelers today than I did last week or the week before that, or week before that, or the month before that, or before the season. They're a talented team. The fact they won without TJ Watt on Monday made me very, very happy, because previously it was 1-10 was the record without TJ. But it's the Dolphins. It's cold weather. It's at home. Extra time to prepare. It's a game you know you need. And the Dolphins knew they needed it, but come on, Miami was not going to win that game. And ultimately, it was all said and done. The Steelers did what they were supposed to do. And this season, I maintain, because I'm hearing an alarming amount of, man, see, told you, Mike Tomlin is a great coach. Yeah, you Steelers fans that were, in the crowd, chanting the following. And that was a couple of weeks ago against Buffalo. Oh my gosh, they just overreacted. This is still the Mike Tomlin. This is still the highest paid defense in the National Football League, highest compensated defense in all football. And that's Mike Tomlin's side of the ball, right? The Steelers this year aren't very good on defense, even with a great defensive performance like they had the other night against Miami, which kind of juiced their numbers a bit. 18th in points per game, 28th in yards per game, 29th in pass yards per game, 19th in rush yards allowed, 27th on third down. I swear, and even watching games, like, God, the Steelers cannot get off the field on third down. And they give up, on average, 14.5 points per game in the second half. That's second to last in the National Football League. 14.5 points per game given up the second half. Have the Pittsburgh Steelers given up this season, second worst in the league. And again, since the Steelers have been the highest paid defense in all of football in the Mike Tomlin era, over the course of the last 5 seasons, this is where they've ranked. They've been pretty average. In some cases, bad. 24th, 13th, 21st, 12th, 28th. Not that good. I don't know what to tell you. So as I look at the playoff picture today, I'll be honest. If the Steelers end up winning AFC North, which they obviously have a higher chance of Baltimore of doing it, they have a 1 game only in the division, all those things you take into consideration. The only team that I think I would pick the Steelers to beat, as we sit here today, as the AFC playoff picture looks right now, is the LA Chargers. I think with the decimated offensive line, I think when you have TJ Watt and Herbig and Highsmith and Cam Hayward and all of these guys, interior defensive line, guys on the edges, that could be a very, in the cold, in Pittsburgh, against an LA team. Even though the Chargers beat the Steelers a couple months ago, that bodes very well for Pittsburgh. If they lost that game, I'm just going to full-on crash out on the show, I'll be honest. Beyond that, I guess if they drew Indianapolis, but the Colts aren't getting the 5 seed. Beyond that, among realistic playoff opponents, if they play the Patriots, they'd lose. I'm sorry. I know they beat them earlier this season. The Patriots turned the ball over 5 times, including twice at the goal line. Patriots, I said it back in week 3. Patriots should have won that game. If it's Josh Allen, I don't know. We literally just saw 2 weeks ago that game in Pittsburgh, and Josh basically did nothing. Didn't have to do anything. James Cook and the Bills ran for nearly 300 yards on Pittsburgh. So the Steelers would lose that game. If it's the Jaguars, Trevor's won a playoff game. The Jaguars have an excellent defense, and Trevor's been, since Thanksgiving, the best quarterback in football. If it's a team like the Houston Texans, oh my Lord, what is that defense going to do to our offense? We match up well against the Chargers. I think we beat the Chargers. Beyond that, no, we're cooked in the first round. And so in a few weeks, or I guess 4 weeks, when we're right back in this situation, Is Tomlin going to come back? Aaron probably retires. Get to Aaron in just a second. Is this wash, rinse, repeat? Same old in Pittsburgh? I mean, I couldn't. I was happy. I'm always going to pull for my team unless we're in a situation where we should tank. Like if you're a Chiefs fan, of course, you go into the season with Super Bowl expectations. Now you're 6-8. Mahomes has an ACL. You're out of the playoffs. Now you're rooting for the Chiefs to finish 6-11. You want as high of a pick as possible. Steelers aren't in that situation. If the draft began tomorrow, they draft 20th, like they have for the last decade. Can't get better. Can't bottom out in order to improve the roster. So I sound like a Debbie Downer Steelers fan. I know. But I didn't see anything that shocking the other night. Like, they were supposed to beat Miami. The Dolphins are a terrible cold weather team. And even in wins, man, I tell you what, it's so predictable. Even when the vibes are good. You know, Aaron Rodgers, after the game, it looks like, oh, look at Aaron being a good teammate and giving his guys love. And then it turns the other way. Just take a listen to Aaron Rodgers talking about his teammates after the game.
It's kind of what I said after the game. There's some cast-offs if you look at our roster, which it makes it really special. You know, Kenny Gainwell signed a next-to-nothing contract. You know, Connor Hayward, an afterthought, had a touchdown run. You know, Marquez been on a couple teams. Adam Thielen got cut. Samuel was on the street for a long time. So it says a lot about the character of the guys we brought in.
Do you consider yourself one of those cast-offs too?
No, I'm not a cast-off.
You're not a cast-off. Okay, dude, you literally have been cast off 2 of the last 3 years. I mean, like, that's just the facts. The Packers traded you in 2023 and the Jets. Just think about this. You're not a cast-off. The New York Jets said, no, we're good. We can do better than you. Obviously, they have not done better than him. It's the Jets. But the most dysfunctional franchise, maybe in the league, them are the Browns, and one of the most well-run franchises, the Packers, literally said, we're good. And you're talking about, you know, the cast-offs, Asante Samuel Jr. Asante Samuel Jr. has played for 2 teams in the last 5 seasons. You played for 3. Connor Hayward has been a Steeler from day one. Like, not a cast-off. Not like he scored a touchdown. He's been good on that tush-push play, but Connor Hayward's not a star by any stretch of the imagination. But if they're cast-offs, then you're definitely a cast-off. Your resume is your resume. You're one of the 10 greatest quarterbacks ever. But what have you done for me lately, Janet Jackson? So what have you done for me lately, league? 2 of the last 3 off seasons, 2 teams have literally moved on from you. You are quite literally, by definition, a cast-off. The Steelers were the only team that wanted you. Like, you had no options other than them. Or retire, I guess. So, you know, that's where we're at. And before I get to my guy, Alfred Parsard Jr., Metropolitan Report, which is doing really well, by the way. The Mets have had a tumultuous offseason, to say the very least. Alfred says, the biggest Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers apologist that will be on the planet in approximately a month. My guy, the Car Master. Oh, listen. And I've told Alfred this, and I've said it on the show. If the Pittsburgh Steelers win a playoff game, I will not apologize to Tomlin. Bro, it took you long enough. I will apologize to Aaron. Because Aaron came in, broke the Tomlin curse. Hey, you want a playoff game? That hasn't been done since 2016. I'm not expecting Aaron to be special. If you could win a playoff game, oh, kudos. I'll apologize. Tomlin, bro, you're supposed to. If you're one of the best coaches in the league, allegedly. Wow, not Bryson praising Rodgers. Credit where it's due. He played well. The comments about the cast-off teammate is hilarious. As a Jets fan and employee, I'll say Aaron was the problem. I'm not saying Aaron was the problem. He certainly didn't make things better, which is what you're kind of supposed to do. But just bad leadership. I don't listen. I've said this on the show before. You know, Aaron and Brett Favre have been compared for many obvious reasons. Packer quarterbacks, legendary quarterbacks in Green Bay, Super Bowl champions, the whole bit. I've said in the show, I don't think Brett's that good of a guy. I really don't, based on his history. I don't think Aaron's a bad guy. I really don't. He's done a lot of good for a lot of people. You know, he got some I know he's Randall Cobb's kid's godfather. Like, he's got teammates, Bakhtiari, guys that he's been close with. Like, I don't think Aaron's a bad dude. I don't think he's necessarily, by his teammates' admission, a bad friend. Great partner, has Danica Patrick and Shailene Woodley, but I digress. He's an atrocious leader. And for that, Aaron Rodgers, once again at the presser this week.
You done messed up, Aaron!
I mean, We're 21 years in. That's how he's always been. Okay, let's talk about Tua. Because the news broke today by Adam Schefter. He got benched. Not just benched. He's going to be the third stringer the rest of the season. The depth chart in Miami is now going to go Quinn Ewers, 7th-round rookie out of Texas. Zach Wilson, speaking of former Jets quarterbacks. And then Tua Tagovailoa as the third-string emergency quarterback. So Tua's not playing the rest of the year. There's 3 games left. Dolphins are out of playoff contention. I would imagine there might be some stipulation into his contract where if he were to get hurt this year, the Dolphins would owe more money. Like, I'm sure that comes into the equation as well. But Tua's benched. And again, we weren't able to get the graphic, unfortunately, on this show because the graphics website has given me some weird issues today. But what you need to know is Tua is at or near the bottom in every major statistical category, really outside of completion percentage where he ranks 8th. If you're talking about touchdown to interception ratio, passer rating, record, the whole, but Tua has had a bad year. I mean, I think he's leading the league in picks. He has had a terrible year. And it feels like this is probably it for him in Miami. Now, the question is, how in God's name do the Dolphins move off of him? I mean, seriously, like it's an untradeable contract. If the Dolphins are to trade Tua, they probably have to attach a pick to it or another player, which they already gave up their best defensive player, Jalen Phillips, to Philadelphia. They're not moving off of Waddle because he's their best offensive player. I think they probably attach a 3rd-round pick or something to it, to a team that's just completely desperate. They just want to win games. Because Tua's not going anywhere. You're not going to have a $51 million backup. Like, that's not going to be the case. But there's also the other component of people are saying, if you move on from Tua, right, if you find yourself in a situation like that, if you move on from Tua Tagovailoa, oh my gosh, all the dead money. The Broncos did a very similar thing with Russell Wilson, right? They released Russell Wilson. I think it was somewhere around $80 million in dead money. The Broncos are doing okay today, right? Now, I think Denver's more well-run. They obviously have an excellent coach, Sean Payton, great front office, ownership, the whole bit. But those things will come into consideration for the Dolphins. And to be frank, I think Stephen Ross is one of the most underratedly bad owners in professional sports. We talk about, the ownership in Cleveland, the Haslams. We talk about Woody Johnson and James Dolan, and across sports, Dan Snyder back in the day when he owned the Commanders. I think Stephen Ross, the Dolphins have not won a playoff game in a quarter century. It's been 25 years since they won a playoff game, which is, I think, the longest streak going in American team sports right now, the major 4 sports, NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, and the NHL. But it also adds to, and the way I would view it if I'm a Dolphins fan, and certainly the way I would view it, management-wise, I think you got to keep Mike McDaniel. And I've been critical of him on the show. Others have. There's been times, does he have control of the locker room? There was the report I talked about in this show back, during training camp when they were joint practice with Detroit, one of the most physical teams in the league. And I think it might have been like Alex Anzalone, Lions linebacker, who was like, yeah, they don't practice very hard at all. Like these are night and day type of, practice regimens, so to speak. I'm like, okay, that kind of reflects the leadership and the how the coach likes to conduct his business. With that being said, there is something to say about, man, you fired your GM, you benched your quarterback, you started 1-6, and you went into week 15 with not a realistic shot, but mathematically, it was mathematically possible for the Dolphins to make the playoffs. The team hadn't quit on him previously. Before the Steelers game, they'd won 5 of 6. They've run the football effectively. Devon Achane's been excellent. The defense hasn't been bad, so to speak. So I think Mike McDaniel probably gets another shot next year, unless the Dolphins are just in love with a future head coaching candidate. I don't know. Mike McDaniel, if he gets fired, is going to be scooped up really, really quick as an offensive coordinator. Like if it's for maybe Kansas City or Philadelphia goes after him, he will coach next year, whether it's for the Dolphins, who knows. But I think by and large, and I talked about this on Monday's show, there is such, and it's actually the reason I said, I know the Steelers are 1-10 without TJ Watt. I actually don't think they need him for this game. Because some of the Dolphins' offense happens behind the line of scrimmage, whether it's handoffs or whether it's screen passes. Getting the ball out quick because Tua, we know he has a noodle arm, can't throw it deep, isn't mobile. So a lot of it is catch snap, screen to Jalen Waddle. If Tyreek Hill's healthy, same with him. I mean, famously Tua before early in the season against New England threw a deep ball to Tyreek Hill to come back and basically fair catch it. And Tua was ripping him after the game. Dude, I can't throw it that far. There's limitations at quarterback when that's the situation that you find yourself in if you're in Miami. So it's on the Dolphins management for giving him the contract that they gave him, without question. But I think they're in a weird spot with drafting quarterback because this class is not that strong. I love Fernando Mendoza. Some people like Ty Simpson at Bama. I haven't loved what I've seen from Ty Simpson last month, but I think he's got some tangible qualities that could make him a franchise-level quarterback. Other than that, I mean, Dante Moore, by the way, I love at Oregon. Aside from 2, maybe 3, it's a pretty weak class. Teams like the Jets, teams like, the Browns potentially could go after those guys. And then where the Dolphins sit. Because if you're Mike McDaniel to get brought back, you're trying to keep your job. So I would bring him back. I would. I think the fact the team has played this hard for him when they had every opportunity to kind of quit on him says something. But this was one of the least shocking bench news that we've heard in quite some time with Tua Tagovailoa. I guess him being sent to third string is a little surprising, but I guess they don't want, if Quinn Ewers, God forbid, gets hurt, they don't want the kid, they don't want the guy to get hurt again and potentially jeopardize any trade value he might have. And again, if they do trade him, they probably attach some picks to it. So it's a rough situation in Miami. Alfred in the comments, McDaniel's getting fired for sure. I can't see him lasting another season, potentially. He said Tua's got to go. He can spend the rest of his life on the President's Fitness Council when he can't even get his name pronounced properly. Yeah, he's got to work on that among other things. But again, it's just with this player. And I'll say the same thing with Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he's a bad guy, but he's not somebody who galvanizes the locker room. He's accurate, but a lot of his completion percentage is coming off of screens. So that's where I'm at with Tua. Shifting to the NBA, Sal Campisi coming up in about 8 to 10 minutes. So last night, the New York Knicks won the NBA Cup over the San Antonio Spurs. Finished third quarter, a 10-0 run, went on to win the game. I believe Jalen Brunson was the NBA Cup MVP, which he joins the list of Giannis and LeBron. Pretty good company. But what I'm seeing today, I've talked on the show about buzzkills and party poopers and people who are just, the well-actually type of individuals. And I'm seeing so much of that in NBA media today by the old guard, so to speak, of those in the NBA media. Oh, man, who cares about the NBA? I mean, why do we even have this thing? I mean, it's just, you guys are like freaking, speed limit signs at the Indy 500. I mean, you are buzzkills. You are terrible for the game, terrible for the growth of the game. Everything with the league is always bad. Here's the reality. It's more entertaining games. And the fact of the matter is, folks, and we'll show you a graphic, you watch. The numbers say you watch this year. Go and put up the graphic. Group play ratings, 40 million viewers. That's up 90% from a year ago. Semifinal rankings or ratings, 400 million views across all social platforms, up 126%. Digital platforms from the NBA had 2.6 billion views through the quarterfinals, up 38% from last year. I'm not sure what the ratings are going to look like last night, but my guess is it's Tuesday night, so no NFL, no football. New York Knicks, we know they're a huge brand. The Spurs have been a notable brand for the last quarter century, and they've got Wemby. Say a lot of folks watching Amazon Prime. I mean, I'm seeing, folks today talking about, you can't put a banner. I mean, how could you possibly ever? Guys, I mean, Taylor Swift's got a banner at the former Staples Center. Billy Joel's got a banner at Madison Square Garden. Like, if artists get banners, ain't the Knicks are allowed to hang a smaller, no one's accusing of being a Larry O'Brien trophy level banner. The Knicks obviously have much bigger and better goals this season. To me, they're the clear, with respect to Detroit, the clear favorite to win the Eastern Conference. They should be anyway. But why would it be a crime? I mean, the Knicks announced today, I think Shams reported that the Knicks are not going to have a banner. I mean, it's up to the organization, but why is there such a stigma around that? You won something. You accomplished something. Good for you. You went undefeated in the games that mattered for the NBA play-in tournament. Or not play-in tournament, in-season tournament. And the case with the NBA, you see this at times in Major League. You really don't see it in the NFL, which is where I give the league and honestly NFL fans credit. But you see it in Major League Baseball from time to time. You really see it in college football. Obviously, college football's gone through a lot of changes in the last 5 years. NIL, transfer portal, the whole bit, conference realignment. And I'm not saying, listen, all change is not good per se. But any change that gives me, the consumer, all of us as fans, more high leverage stake moments, great. That's kind of the whole point of watching sports on television, right? Like, that's what we get worked up for. I don't know. Would you have rather seen a game last night, game, whatever it would have been 28, 29. I mean, it's people would have watched if it was the Knicks and Spurs, but there's not the juice. Like, oh, it's Vegas, which the NBA is probably going to move it out of Vegas because they didn't generate as much ticket sales there as they would have liked. I think having a home court advantage at Madison Square Garden, at San Antonio would have been much more, beneficial. But when it's all said and done, man, like, don't be the party poopers. Don't be the speed limit at the Daytona 500. This is fun. It's exciting. It's basketball games that matter, that have juice, that have excitement to it. People panicking and acting like, oh my gosh, this is ruining the league. Guys get paid. Ratings go up. We all watch. The games matter more. The players clearly, I said this going back to the first NBA in-season tournament 2 years ago. The players clearly care about it. Isn't that kind of what we wanted in the regular season? But then when the NBA makes changes to implement that, and I haven't been necessarily a pro silver guy the last few years, but I think this has been good for the league. More money, more interest, more big games, better effort from the players. Great. Why is there supposed to be a problem with that? I get the traditionalists get mad at every little change, but come on now. It's fun. I mean, don't be the guy at the party who just cranks the music down. I mean, come on. What are we doing? So what do we got? Alpha Parsar Jr. Shout out to the Knicks. I find it crazy they won't hang the banner for the cup and the rafters of MSG. Those rafters have been pretty vacant for decades. Yeah, that's and if the Knicks get knocked out by Detroit or somebody, or the Sixers in the Eastern Conference Finals, folks are like, not too late to raise that banner. At least you came away with something. But again, it's more entertaining sports, more entertaining basketball. I mean, for years, folks panicked, oh my God, 14 playoff, and now a 12-team playoff in the last couple of years. Oh my gosh, it's ruining the purity of college football. Yeah, the purity of college football, where there were games, Alabama's playing against North Carolina Tech, Cornbread State. I mean, what are we like, so that you can't, the strength of schedule was so important to where one blemish on your resume and you were done. You were done in the BCS era. Shoot, the BCS era is, it's not even 30 years old. I get being pro-tradition, but golly, can we not have a little fun in here? Anyways. All right, we're going to take a 1-minute break. But when we come back, Sal Campisi is going to be joining the show. He was alongside of me and 8 others at the House of Highlights debate show for Carmelo Anthony. He'll be joining in just 1 minute on Carving Up Live. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Carving Up Live. Appreciate everybody stopping by on a Wednesday. Joining me now, he was alongside me and 8 other contestants on House of Highlights Clash, which that episode, the Carmelo Anthony 1 Melo fan versus 10 Melo haters, that'll be airing in the future. We haven't gotten the heads up from House of Highlights quite yet of when it's going to air. Obviously, we'll be promoting the crap out of it once it does. But he's joining me now, content creator and my teammate here on House of Highlights. Would you please welcome Sal Campisi, who is joining the show. Sal, how are you, my friend?
Yo, what up, Bryce? Thank you so much for being here. I'm fired up to be here, man. How we doing today?
I'm fired to be. Is that a Joey Aguilar jersey or Alvin Kamara? What do we got?
Now, listen, I'm a Saints fan, so I heard you're from Tennessee, so we got to get the boys buzzing here early on the show. I'm fired up.
Let's go. Listen, Alvin Kamara is without question one of the greatest running backs in Ball's history, and so I love you repping there without question. So first of all, before we even get into the topics today, quickly on what was sort of your experience in the House of Highlights studio, without obviously giving away any spoilers? What was sort of your experience with that?
NDA would say otherwise, but So I mean, it was awesome. You bump into people like Bryson. We're hanging out, we're shooting the said beforehand, and it's interesting. I was a little late to the show. I found out that I was it was 15 minutes till I had to be there, and I found out that I was 45 minutes away. So I'm sprinting down the streets of New York in Jordan ones, which was not a good time. But I made it on time, and it was a hell of a day, and I can't wait to talk about it like once it posts and everything.
Oh, I can't. It's going to be a blast. And I thought you were fantastic. Everyone there did a great job. And no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I just wanted to quickly shout out your attire, your outfit during the day. I will keep it spoiler free, but the way it all fell together, it was almost like cinematic. And I can't wait for the prompt and the fit to mesh. It was unbelievable.
I would be lying to you and to the audience if I didn't say that there was some intentionality that was a part of. Like, I kind of knew that kind of question would come up. But we're just teasing the audience to death. This is we're going to obviously talk about it once it comes out. But again, Sal Campisi joining us. So to the NFL. So you're based right around near Philadelphia, but you are a Saints fan. But I'm sure know a lot of Eagles fans. You're in that sort of area.
Yeah,
and to say the very least, there's been a lot of calls to fire Kevin Patullo, the offensive coordinator for the team. The Eagles, save for a few games here or there, have had a lot of offensive struggles. They are bottom 10 in the NFL in terms of second half scoring. And then against the Raiders, terrible team, but they blow the doors off them. They look fantastic. Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts are doing their thing. Is that offensive performance enough to convince you, okay, they're back, they're right on track, or it's trending in the correct direction in order for them to try and make another Super Bowl run?
Yeah, so I know more than most living in this area. Monday after a loss, I mean, these people are devastated. I mean, we're egging his poor man's house. We're coming to work. We're all dopey. We're pissed. They're a very mad fan base. As a Sixers fan, I get it. Now, when you talk about the last, what would they go 3 weeks with a loss?
Yeah, three game losing streak. Yeah,
3-game losing streak. AJ Brown's tweeting. Barkley can't even get out of the backfield without 3 guys at his feet. I mean, I think that beating up on a high school team like the Raiders, it fires the sideline up like, hey, Patullo's going, offense is working right now. We're not beating up on anybody impressive, but I think no. I don't think it's enough for me. I think they got the Bills next week or in 2 weeks. I think, hey, you beat the Bills or you put up 24 on the Bills. Now we're having a different conversation. Now AJ Brown's all fired up, and I think that, again, beating up on the Raiders, it's just they just won the Super Bowl. They should be beating the Raiders. So that's my play.
And Alfred takes exception. You call him a high school team. I mean, they've been atrocious this season. But yeah, I mean, to your point, like it's the lack of balance. It's the offensive line play has been bad. And again, some of that is Mekhi Becton gone. Landon Dickerson and Lane Johnson been dealing with injuries. Like, really the only guy, Jordan Mailata has been the only guy that's been consistently healthy for that O-line. Saquon has, of course, been a shell of what he was a year ago, and Jalen has been inconsistent throughout. The team that they clobbered in the Super Bowl, though, Kansas City is dealing with their own set of issues, to say the very least. They were already on the outside looking in the postseason. They were officially eliminated on Sunday against the Chargers, and Mahomes unfortunately goes down with an ACL. I said on Monday's show, I think this iteration of the Chiefs dynasty, the Mahomes, Kelsey, Chris Jones dynasty, that part's over. I think it would be unwise to get a bet against Patrick Mahomes winning future championships. Tom Brady went 10 years without winning one. But would you say this iteration or just the entire Chiefs dynasty, would you consider that a wrap today, Sal?
I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I think Patrick Mahomes is the most athletic person in the NFL at this point in time. I think he is like the best. I think Brady's the GOAT. I'm going to say that. I'm going to start with Brady's the GOAT. I think Mahomes has the best chance to eclipse at least some of the statistics. I think the dynasty is dead. However, I think it died in February. I think put the kibosh on that in February. Now, like Brady and the Patriots, I think he's going to start a second dynasty. Patriots, 03-04, blah, blah, blah. 15-18, they kind of came back and won 2 of 3, right? Bro, yeah. Travis Kelce's gone, right? A year or two, I don't think Mahomes throws another pass to Kelce. That hot take or not, whatever. He's got a young star receiver cast. I mean, Worthy's a dog, Rice, dog. Like, yes, the running back room's a little, I mean, Pacheco's young, so never mind. Pacheco's young. I think if we get an offensive line that can block the blind side and we get like 2-star defense guys, I think Mahomes comes back with a haircut, and I think he just balls out and does what everybody expects him to do. I think there's no more oh my God, this is hilarious. I forgot Taylor Swift. There's no Swift in the building.
How did you forget Taylor Swift, Sal?
Yeah, that's how funny it is. No Swift's in the building. I think he comes back. I think he gets a baller haircut, and I think an angry Patrick Mahomes is terrifying. He got hurt in that AFC Championship game, and he was trying to come out at halftime. I was scared. I think he takes the league over. I think you give him 2 years after the injury. I think he's right back to where he was 5 years ago with Tyreek and the boys.
And I think what you saw with Tom Brady, for example, who obviously also tore his ACL at the same point in his career, Mahomes, is he comes back in 2009. He was good. Like, the Patriots were a good team, but he wasn't quite Tom Brady level. Then comes back 2010 when wins league MVP. So, like, I think you could see something similar where when Mahomes will come back, we'll see as I doubt it's in September, probably around late October, early November, and where the Chiefs even are in the playoff mix at that point remains to be seen. But yeah, come 2-3 years from now, I agree with you. I think they'll be back in the championship picture, and I think they've got to rebuild that offensive line, Sal. Like, they're going to have a high pick. It's atrocious. It's a good left tackle draft. So investing in that, you can always find weapons later in later rounds. Tyreek Hill was a mid-round pick himself. So, like, that's Travis Kelce, I think, was a third rounder. So that's not going to be something where I think they need to invest, early first round. The defense is fine. It could use some improvements, but it's by and large been good this season. Now without Chris Jones, we'll see. But the Chiefs, it remains to be seen. Now, as far as Super Bowl contenders, there's a number of them. It feels as wide open as we've ever seen the NFL in both conferences. If you had to sit here today, December 17th, 2025, we are 2 months out of the Super Bowl. Your pick to win the AFC and the NFC would be...
Okay, now, to your point a little bit earlier where you said college football, getting it to 4 to 8 to whatever, I think it's hyped that it's 7 each side because you're right, it's exciting, it's wide open. Now, beginning of the year, I said birds back-to-back. As a Saints fan, I said birds back-to-back. That being said, December 17th, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I'm going to start with the NFC. I'm going to go with the Rams. Sean McVay is diabolical in his planning. He's just he's a top 10 head coach no matter what you spin it. We won't talk about that. Now, you talk about Devontae's hurt. We don't know. He's day-to-day practice-wise. He'll be fine for the playoffs. I say you just rest him to the playoffs. You already clinched. I think that they have a young running back core. I just think they're balling out. And I think their defense is playing so well with they had like 5 primetime games this year, and they're just sticking around every time. And they're a fun ass team to watch. I got the Rams coming out of the NFC.
Okay.
And as for the AFC, hot take or not, I think the Patriots, I don't think they do it. I think they win a game. If that, I think they get the home playoff game and just crumble. I'm going with Sean Payton and the Broncos out of the AFC. Now, Sean Payton, as a Saints fan, he's a certified dog. 2 seasons it took. Broncos, 11 wins or 10 wins, whatever they're at.
12 wins. Yeah. And then
11 straight.
Away with the AFC West. Yeah.
Rolling away with it with Patrick Mahomes and a hot Chargers team in that same division. I think the Broncos get it done. They're going to get a home playoff game. Sean Payton, when he travels, the fans travel with him. I don't care if they're away for any game. Give me the Broncos. Give me the Rams. Super Bowl in February.
You know, what's funny is, and this is a show where I give a number, as you mentioned, of hot takes. And a few years ago, I picked the Broncos and Rams to meet in that Super Bowl the first year of Russell Wilson, and safe to say that was not even close. So I would 3 years early. 3 years early, I would be totally fine if that were to come to pass. I mean, 2 great defenses, young quarterback Bo Nix, Matt Stafford, the veteran. Listen, I think that'd be a fun game. And to your point about the Rams, their front office, Les Snead has done such an unbelievable job in the draft. I thought the Nick Emmanwori pick from South Carolina, the safety they brought in, really the kind of do-it-all player from South Carolina, was one of the steals of the draft. Jared Verse. Listen, maybe I'm crazy, and I've mentioned this on the show throughout, and then we'll get to the NBA. Is it on the board? Remember when Eric Weddle came out of retirement a few years ago just to play for the Rams the postseason?
Sure.
You think Aaron Donald does that?
Listen, it's something's in the water. Rivers coming out, and Brandon BG came out too.
He did.
So that's already 2 old heads coming back.
They're old. It's okay to say they're old.
Yeah. So I don't think it's that crazy. I think he's still in shape. He's on Instagram posting workouts here and there. I don't think that is something that Sean ain't already been texting him for. But here's the only thing though. When did he retire?
After 2023. So it's been
that
2 years.
resets now. Does he care about the Hall of Fame?
Oh,
That
he's
much?
getting in
I mean,
first
he's a
ballot. It doesn't
shoo-in.
matter. Yeah.
So what's an extra 5 years? I think one crazy injury, and it's a definite. I think no injuries, and it's a solid 60%.
Okay. Listen, I just, with those two young pass rushers, an opportunity for if the Rams get the 1 seed, it's like, hey, you get an extra week off, one less playoff game you got to do.
Yes, and he's not going to play 80% like he used to play. He's going to play 20%. Big, crucial third downs. And the beginning of halftime, like a third quarter, he might play that whole drive and then just sit him to the fourth.
Listen, I want to see it. I think it would be a blast and to see him an opportunity get a second ring. Shifting the NBA, though, because obviously our House of Highlights was centered around the NBA, was centered around Carmelo Anthony. Again, that to come out in the future. We are just having the audience on a string right now, just teasing it to death. I promise we're going to be, obviously collaborating in the future.
We'll jump back on. Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. But so last night, obviously, the Knicks win the NBA Cup over the San Antonio Spurs. And kind of the question today, other than the ridiculousness of how dare you hang a banner, it's like, bro, it's okay to celebrate a little bit. It's an accomplishment. The Knicks obviously play in the infinitely weaker conference right now. The East has the Knicks, the Pistons, maybe the Cavs, although I don't trust them.
Sixers. 10-9-8. Come on, man.
I don't know if I trust Embiid.
Oh, well, okay. Well, nobody trusts Embiid. That's fair.
That's the thing. So, like, it certainly does not have the depth that the Western Conference has. So say the Knicks get to the finals, and you got Oklahoma City, you got the Spurs, you got the Rockets, you got the Lakers, a bunch of other contending teams. Do you think they're capable, as currently constructed, without any midseason trades, without any craziness, getting Giannis or something crazy, who we'll talk about in just a moment? Do you think they can win a 7-game series against any of the top contenders in the Western Conference?
Now, it's a great question. We saw that Indiana Pacers series last year, and they were balling out in clutch moments. As a Sixers fan, I hated watching it. I love when Melo was there because he wasn't doing that. Now, we'll put a kibosh on that.
I told you he's a Melo hater.
Now, I will say I don't think so. No. To answer your question, no.
Okay.
They're going to get – it's tough because I don't see the Lakers getting there. I'm a big LeBron guy. LeBron's the GOAT. Big LeBron guy.
I agree with you.
I don't think – we had that – we talked about that. Now, I will say – I just don't see the matchup against Denver or OKC where the Knicks, I think they steal 1 or 2, but I just don't see it. No, absolutely not. I think the West, like to your point, is super stacked this year. And they've been playing games that are infinitely harder within the Western Conference. I think that OKC dumps on their first team and they're chilling for a week. Like if they're a well-rested Denver or OKC, I just don't even care about anybody else in the NBA. I don't think they get more than 2.
And I think to your point, like a Jokic versus Cat matchup is a Jokic versus anybody matchup is pretty unfair. Get another dig at Melo, the greatest number 15 in Nuggets history, which our debating compatriot. To be fair, he also did say, yeah, Melo's the greatest Nugget of all time. But yeah, there's an element of obviously without Tibbs and now having Mike Brown, and he's not going to run his starters on the ground the way Tibbs did.
Correct.
With that being said, man, that is when the entire game plan is just make sure Jalen Brunson doesn't go crazy, or it's Brunson can go for 35, but Cat's not getting his. And we know Cat's inconsistencies in the playoffs, even going back to Minnesota. It does feel like they need to make, even if it's not a crazy Giannis trade, like maybe add another big or add another legit wing player or some form of depth the Knicks might make, need to make a postseason run. As for Giannis, so he's out right now, obviously with the calf strain. There's there's rumors he might get traded. There's obviously the fact that he talked about, or that Shams talked about the fact that he and the Bucks met to say, hey, could this end up being the best destination for me long-term? We obviously know that is not the case. Where do you think? There's a lot of contenders, a lot of teams that have the assets, a Houston, maybe a Knicks. I've suggested, I think he's going to San Antonio. Where does Giannis Antetokounmpo end up?
I say San Antonio.
Okay.
And it's interesting because if he goes to the Knicks, that conversation we had completely changes. I think they're the clear-cut one in the East, and I think they beat any team in the NBA. That I truly think that. Because if you bottle up, like you said, Kat, you bottle up Brunson, you're going to live or die by Josh Hart. No team is afraid of Josh Hart in a clutch moment. Now, you're going to bottle up 3 people? Because we know that in the NBA, the big 3 never, ever, in the big 3, that's always what happens. Like you can't bottle 3. You can bottle 2, can't bottle 3.
Sure.
Now, I don't think that it's going to happen that way. Like, yes, you could get a Kevin Durant shock. Maybe he goes there. Like, whoa. I just think he goes to San Antonio. I mean, he can play the 4 or even the 3. Giannis can play the 3 in San Antonio. He could put up 30 in 2 quarters and just sit. I think also too, you want to say about the longevity, like, do you think as in Milwaukee, he's not going to have his whole career there? Bro, you got a 19-year-old that's 7 foot. I mean, your whole career is it's Kobe Shaq.
Yeah.
Like
If
I just think
Kobe were a
San
power
Antonio.
forward. I mean, like that. I mean, that's what it like. You are to beat the San Antonio Spurs. You have to beat them with only jumpers. Like, I mean, you are not coming the restricted area.
Correct.
God, that would be scary. I listen. That's where I think he's going to end up. Now,
You think? I was gonna say, where do you think?
I think it's San Antonio. The only thing is the young assets they have, the Devin Vassell's of the world, the Stephon Castles. Like, are they going to be like my Golden State Warriors were in a kind of a similar position about 12 years ago? Do you move Klay Thompson for Kevin Love? Obviously, the Warriors are glad that they did not do that. Like, does San Antonio say we want to stick with our young core, or is an element of because of Wemby's superhuman physique, we don't know if he's going to have that long of a career. So let's strike while the iron's hot. There's a lot of decisions to make. And listen, I think San Antonio's got a great front office, but they certainly have the assets to get him. I also suggested 2 weeks ago, OKC technically has the assets to get him. It would break the league if they did it, but it would be.
I think that's where we shut it down. I think Silver shuts that one down. Now, I will say this, though, is Wemby, obviously, rookie contract, obviously will need to be paid tremendously after. Giannis would have to also get a supermax. I don't really see many teams that double supermax young players like that. Like you're battling
the second apron, that's the only thing. Like that's the only thing that could hold it back, from getting.
Giannis would have to be like, all right, yeah, I'll take $70 million that I could have got somewhere else, but I want 2 rings out of it. So how much does he really want to win again? Is like how Kobe mentality, how much do you want to win is dependent on where he goes. Because I think he has the ability to go anywhere right now.
No question about it. Sal Campisi, tell everybody where they can find you on social media. You're a content creator. Tell where they can find you.
Everybody, just SalRock _ on every single solitary social media you got. Video games, Pokemon, sports, as you can see right now. Hot takes, cold takes, any kind of take, SalRock _ anywhere.
Sal, great stuff. Can't wait to have you on the show once again to have a lot more to say about the House of Highlights Mellow debate. It's gonna be fun.
We were holding it back, Bryson. I appreciate you being on here, and have a good rest of the podcast, baby. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sal Campisi joining the show, and listen, we're gonna get more and more people who was a part of that debate, including Johnny, who was absolutely fantastic. It did a great job being the pro mellow guy. It's gonna be a blast without question. Okay, so. Something that I think we got a comment here. Maybe do we have a comment here on the channel? Yeah, here we go. Nick Spuler on 90210. Or no, I thought about the TV show. I thought that said 90210. It's 9010, so 9010. Great segment, Sal Rock. Yeah, great stuff. He's a good dude. Talked with him and talked with some other content creators who, again, I will be collabing with in the future. In the green room. It was a really, really fun experience. So shout out to Sal and check out his content on social media. Now, this was a segment I was planning to do on. It looks like Sal's in the comments. Yeah, appreciate you, Sal. Great stuff. Again, check out Sal Rock _ YouTube, TikTok, IG, the whole bit. He does a great job. So let me take a drink of water for this. This was a segment I was going to do on Monday's show, but because it was just, stacked top to bottom in a crazy NFL weekend and had to talk about the New York trip and things of that nature, I'm like, I want to give this the time that it deserves. I don't want to rush through the segment because I didn't want to have a 2-hour podcast on a Monday night. So you guys know I do a segment every Wednesday. It's called Carving Up the Context. Essentially, it's, hey, there's a story, there's a bit of news going around the sports world or sometimes the entertainment world. I'm like, I want to go a little bit deeper on that than is being discussed in the media landscape. And boy, did we find the opportunity. Diego Pavia, quarterback of the Vanderbilt Commodores. We're going to be talking about him in just a second. So, as the head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes, primetime Deion Sanders says, give me my theme music. On this week's edition of Carving Up the Context, we're going to be talking about Diego Pavia and how he has, in a single weekend, destroyed his brand. Or at least any brand he hopes to have if he wants to have any sort of NFL future. But in order to tell the story about Diego Pavia, you got to go where all stories starts, which is at the beginning. So he comes in at I want to make sure I'm getting this right. New Mexico Military Institute. So I think this is a JUCO school. And if we can show what Mr. Pavia did at New Mexico Military Institute from 2020, 2021, pretty good. 46 total touchdowns, 4 picks, 16-5 record. You see the 153.7 rating. Context for future graphics we're going to show. The highest passer you can get, as we often talk about on Carving It Up, 158.3 in the NFL. College, it can exceed like 200. Like Joe Burrow had like a 202 passer rating his last year at LSU. Jaden Daniels, I think, was even higher. So, but still, 153.7 is really good. 16-5 record, JUCO championship in 2021. So he was pretty successful. Had a nice career there. So he transfers in-state to New Mexico State, and he's really good there. 52 total touchdowns, 15 picks. Completion percentage, not great, but 140 rating, a 14-9 record, and he's the Conference USA Offensive Player of the Year and helps them win a bowl game. Like, he was pretty successful at New Mexico State. And so he says, you know what? Got 1 year left of eligibility. At the time, that's probably what he thought, 1 year left of eligibility. I'm going to go to Vanderbilt. I'm going to go to the Southeastern Conference to play the best competition. And safe to say, he was quite good. As much as I rip on Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia was excellent. 64 touchdowns, 12 picks, 65% completion, 284 yards per game total, 157.5 rating, 17-9 record. And in the last 2 years, 2024 second team All-SEC, and this year, SEC Offensive Player of the Year, first team All-SEC, and of course, he was a Heisman finalist. More on that in just a bit. Came in second to Fernando Mendoza, quarterback for Indiana. And so much of the Diego Pavia story, and in some ways, is almost the Baker Mayfield story. I don't want to say on steroids because he wasn't like a walk-on like Baker was, but where Baker was at, Texas Tech, walked on Oklahoma, and ended up being a college football legend. But it kind of parallels it, right? Undersized, kind of a chip on his shoulder, a little bit of cockiness, but like a certain level where it's like the fans can buy it and they're pulling for you, and you're upsetting number 1 Alabama in 2024, and you're a Heisman finalist this year, and Vanderbilt's got a shot to make the playoff, and you, much to my chagrin, beat Tennessee after kind of calling your shot in the summer. To your credit, there's like, man, he came from Military Institute, Conference USA, and then he goes to, he didn't come to the SEC to go to LSU or to Georgia or to Oklahoma, Texas, Alabama. No. He went to the lowest of the low in that conference when it comes to college football, Vanderbilt. And he got them their first 10-win season in program history. Kudos where it's due, man. Listen, I have ripped Vanderbilt football for a long time on the show, to say the very least. But that's pretty darn impressive. To have Vanderbilt in the cusp of, hey, should the Vanderbilt Commodores be in the college football playoff? That's a pretty outstanding accomplishment. But there comes a point in time for anybody, for any player, for any athlete, for anybody in any form of business. How do you sustain it? How do you build off of it? Do you go downwards? Does the trajectory go upwards or downwards? And we know Diego Pavia, as just talked about, it's the way it is. There are physical limitations that will hurt any sort of NFL future he could have. Like outside of Baker, and even Baker's had his struggles this year, Tom Brady talked about this last week. Like, it's almost impossible to be an all-time great at quarterback if you're under 6'2". Like, Drew Brees is the outlier. Drew Brees is the exception, not the rule. Like, most of them. Brady 6'4", Peyton 6'6". What was Marino and Elway? Similar, like 6'3" to 6'5". That's kind of how it works. Mahomes is about 6'2". And so Diego Pavia already had that working against him. And now he is quite literally killing his NFL career before he even has a chance to get to the combine. So he finished second for the Heisman Trophy. And he puts this on Instagram. This was on his own personal Instagram page. F all the voters, family for life. So, screw the voters. Don't give a dang about them. It's like, okay, that's not love that. But then it goes further. Do we have the Indiana tape? Here you go. F Indiana. So, and he's flipping off the camera. He's clubbing. I am assuming that's his girlfriend. Flipping off the camera. Yeah, it's great. So, going after the program of the Heisman Trophy winner when you're a Heisman Trophy finalist. Screw the voters, I guess, including the ones that voted for you by definition, by default. Some of those Heisman voters, by the way, I think actually includes Mark Ingram, who himself is a Heisman Trophy winner. And I think it was actually on his podcast with Urban Meyer being like, yeah, I don't care. I got my Heisman Trophy behind me. Kind of flexing to a certain degree. Like, bro, you're not on that level. Great, but not on that level. And then he hurt himself. So here we're going to play a couple of Diego Pavia sound bites. One was an interview he did 3 weeks ago when asked if he was the best player in college football. And one was in the lead up to the Heisman Trophy ceremony. So we'll play the interview clip first. Diego Pavia talk about why he is, clearly the best player in college football.
Well, the Heisman Trophy winner goes to the best player in college football. I believe that to be myself. You check the numbers, and especially there's two things that don't lie to you: numbers and tape. And I've been taught that since I was young. You go check that out. I feel like I'm undoubtedly, the best player in college football.
Except you quite literally are not. There's the tail of the tape. There's you versus the winner, Fernando Mendoza, and he beats you in almost every statistical category, despite sitting out multiple fourth quarters this year. More touchdowns, less picks. He's got you beaten. He's got Fernando beaten yards, but completion percentage, Fernando. Passer rating, Fernando. Record, Fernando. Top 10 wins, Fernando triples him in that. And by the way, one of those top 10 wins just so happened to come in the Big Ten championship game against the defending national champion Ohio State Buckeyes, who it's safe to say respect to Indiana, respect to Kurt Cignetti and the program he's built there, but Ohio State's got more NFL players than Indiana's got. And he went out there and got a W. Numbers weren't crazy, but you made every single big throw in a book. Did it hurt after taking a brutal hit to start the game? Showed your toughness, showed your accuracy, arm strength. And let's be honest, part of awards such as the Heisman, and I tend to not be this guy. I was just ripping traditionalists when it comes to the NBA Cup earlier in the show. Like, there's a right way to, I was talking about this with baseball. There's a right way to play the game. You got to have fun with it. There's a difference in having fun and just being an outright jerk. Not Fernando Mendoza. Diego Pavia, when asked by Yahoo Sports, it was a bracket of former Heisman Trophy winners. This is what he said on a question about previous Heisman Trophy winners. Take a listen.
Who's the best college football player of all time? Johnny Manziel or Lamar Jackson?
Neither. Me.
Neither.
Me.
Me?
Me.
Me. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bracket.
Oh.
Playing dumb that it wasn't a bracket. And by the way, even if he didn't know it was a bracket, respect the guys that came before you. Johnny Manziel's he was, obviously we know what happened in the NFL, but a college football legend at Texas A&M. Lamar Jackson, was unstoppable at Louisville. The Heisman Trophy winner came from Louisville. That's what he did. Johnny Manziel, the greatest freshman quarterback in the history of the Southeastern Conference. Heisman Trophy winner. Yes, I'm obvious about that. Come on. I'm clearly the best player in college football. Even though Fernando Mendoza, outside of yards per game, literally beats me in every single stat. And has multiple Heisman moments. I have none, unless you want to count me doing the Heisman pose against, Missouri? Okay, congratulations. By the way, you scored 17 in that game, but that's neither here nor there. Over the course of one single weekend, in New York City, by himself, destroyed his brand. Now, he will get an opportunity at the Combine. Physically, which I think he'll do well in that. Diego Pavia is an excellent athlete. But so much about the Combine, so much about draft stock. How do you interview with teams? Coach, listen, Combines are famous for asking just totally out-of-pocket questions. They'll ask you about the moon landing. They'll ask you about anything. They'll ask him about how he conducted business and how he disrespected one of the greatest awards in all of American sports, the Heisman Trophy. He'll get questions about that. That, in addition to something that he cannot help, his physicality, his size. And again, if Diego Pavia is 6 foot, then I'm also 6 foot. Let's put it that way. This is a guy who worked his tail off, was the underdog story, went from Military Institute to Conference USA to the worst program in the SEC, and then elevated them to a near college football playoff appearance and himself as a Heisman Trophy finalist. And then he's bagging on Heisman voters, on Fernando Mendoza, on Fernando Mendoza's program. By the way, did it on, bagged on Fernando Mendoza after he gave one of the more touching Heisman speeches you'll see. Like when he's talking to his grandparents in Spanish and is talking about just his journey. It's like, man, what a good kid. Like, man, Good for him winning the Heisman Trophy. And we've seen Joe Burrow gave a great Heisman speech about 5-6 years ago. Like, that's what you want to see. And this kid goes out there and trashes him and trashes his program. Flips him off the whole bit. People are like, well, Johnny Manziel did the same thing. I'm not going to excuse Johnny Manziel. It's safe to say his off-field actions were not great, to say the very least. But I can say this. Johnny Manziel was a freshman when he was a Heisman Trophy winner at Texas A&M. He was barely into his 20s. Diego Pavia, you've played 6 years of college football. You should know better than this. You are a grown adult. You're grown up. You're 23 years old. You're a grown up. You should be making grown up like decisions when it relates to the future of your career. And so there was an underdog component. There was a, man, good for this kid, bouncing around the country, New Mexico State. And now he goes to the doghouse at the Southeastern Conference, and it has all these great moments, upsets. Number 1 Bama last year and 10-2 this year. Called a shot. Didn't like it personally for myself, but for the rest of the country, called a shot against Tennessee and backed it up at Neyland Stadium against 100,000 people screaming at you. Man, good for him. That shows that you're a dog. Like, that's a competitive, that's a competitive mentality that we love to see in all of sports. And in some ways, it almost parallels different sport, different circumstances, but kind of parallels John Moran a little bit. Because Fear says, oh, Ja's immature. Ja's doing dumb stuff off the court too. Ja's a jerk. The guy's going after a living legend, Klay Thompson, saying he can't shoot, basically. The guy is, ripped Oklahoma City after they beat him in the first round. Like, he's a jerk. Like, I mean, what you don't root for this guy. It's hard to go from, it's hard for the whole country to despise a Vanderbilt quarterback. I think we gotten there. I've never seen someone's public image without a serious crime being committed flip in 48 hours the way that this player did. And again, if we're being fair on the show, and I try to be fair, Diego Pavia did issue an apology on social media. Quote, being part of the Heisman ceremony last night as a finalist was such an honor. As a competitor, just like in everything I do, I wanted to win. To be so close to my dream and come up short was painful. I didn't handle those emotions well at all, and I did not represent myself the way I wanted to. I have much love and respect for the Heisman voters in the selection process, and I apologize for being disrespectful. It was a mistake, and I am sorry. And he goes on to talk about Fernando Mendoza, and he's got respect. Again, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. As an SEC guy, certainly as a Vols guy in the state of Tennessee, I've known who Diego Pavia was since he was at Vanderbilt. I've certainly followed his career, follow everybody in the SEC closer than other programs. That was the first time he kind of got to introduce himself to a national audience. That was the first time the eyeballs of all of college football were on Diego Pavia and Fernando Mendoza, and Ty Simpson and Jeremiah Love. And he made a complete fool out of himself. Partying, clubbing, F Indiana. Who's the best Heisman Trophy winner? Is it Lamar, or best college football player? Is it Lamar Jackson or Johnny Manziel? Me. What? There was one part where they were asking, there was one press conference that all 4 of the finalists did where they were like, who do you give credit to for your rising? It's like, my mom and my parents. And Diego Pavia says, me. It's like, oh, dear God, this guy really thinks his what don't stink, huh? And folks, I'm on this show. I love arrogance if you can back it up. That's why, am I ripping Diego Pavia today for calling a shot against Tennessee? No, I'm actually kind of giving him kudos. But claiming, clearly the best player in college football. Mendoza beat you in almost every single stat, despite playing less than you did. And dealing with, let's be honest, the talent gap in Vanderbilt, Indiana, not crazy. Clark Lee's an excellent coach. Kurt Cignetti's a better coach. But Clark Lee's an excellent coach. Puts you in position to be successful. Heisman Trophy finalists, they make it about their family. They make it about their teammates, their coaches, program. And he made it about Diego Pavia and made himself look as bad as he possibly could have made himself look in that moment. He went from the underdog story in college football who everybody's pulling for to, God, I hope Iowa kicks their ass in the ReliaQuest Bowl. That's hard to do. And Diego Pavia managed to pull it off. So that is it for this week's edition of Carving Up the Context. Listen, that's when people show you who they are, believe them. When people are, when someone falls short of their goal, as Pavia said he did in that tweet, and obviously, of course, it was a goal of his to win the Heisman Trophy. Once it was a realistic chance he could do it, of course. And he absolutely earned the right to get an invite to New York City for the ceremony. But boy, if he wanted any NFL future, I know Theo Vaughn, and we know Theo Vaughn is involved with Diego Pavia's mother, but Theo Vaughn is talking about, F the voters, which, I mean, Theo Vaughn, it's fine. He has nothing at stake here. Yeah, he's a very successful podcaster who's making a lot of money doing what he's doing. He's got no NFL future. He ain't worried about this. Safe to say also Diego's family has not covered themselves in glory over the course of this season. So that's where we're at. Okay, let's talk about Bryson's best 10. My top 10 teams in the National Football League. Let's go and get the background music going and get my top 10 teams in the National Football League going into Week 16. All right. We will start at number 10, the 10th best team in the National Football League. Out of the rankings last week, back in this week, it is the defending Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are the 10th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. So for Philadelphia, listen, you know my role in the show. You lose 3 straight games, I do not consider you a Super Bowl contender. Because if you lose back-to-back games, hey, we need a win, and then you lose again, which the Eagles did to the Chargers, then I'm out and use a contender. And I picked Philly to go to the Super Bowl. I picked Kansas City to win the Super Bowl. That pick's dead, to say the very least. So I'll go, my pick's going down in flames. But for Philadelphia, listen, we talked about it with Sal earlier. They did what they were supposed to do. At home against a terrible Raiders team with Kenny Pickett starting at quarterback. They know Kenny Pickett quite well because he was Jalen Hurts' backup a year ago. They were able to get the job done, dominate defensively, and their defense has been quite good. Vic Fangio is one of the better DCs in the NFL. Jalen Hurts was accurate. Should have had one more touchdown than he had if Dallas Goedert doesn't drop a pretty routine pass in the right corner of the end zone. Saquon Barkley looks great. They got Washington this weekend. Opportunity to wrap up the NFC East. How will they look at it? How will that offense perform against a terrible Buffalo Bills defense next week? That's going to be interesting to see. I think that game is at Buffalo in Orchard Park. Could be very exciting, but the Philadelphia Eagles, give the respect to the defending champions. To them, they are the 10th best team in the National Football League. Okay, this is going to seem kind of unfair, but dropping 3 spots, and it's by, I don't want to say it's by no fault of their own. It's, the teams above them, I was just more impressed with what I saw from last week and over the course of the season. So, the 9th best team in the National Football League, dropping 3 spots, is the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners are the 9th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. So, for San Francisco, it's pretty simple. Their defense has been decimated by injury. The 2 best defensive players, Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, obviously gone for the year with seasoning injuries. I think Robert Saleh has done a great job given what he's been dealt. 2 best defensive players gone. By the way, both superstars, Hall of Fame caliber, and a lot of young players that you're dealing with. At the same time, you give up 24 to the Titans. Now, Tennessee's offense looked good against a good Browns defense last week. So, okay, maybe Cam Ward's starting to figure it out. Cam Ward's been better over the last few weeks. But still, at home, that should be a walkover W. And it wasn't. But again, the offense was great. Brock Purdy was excellent. Brock Purdy playing with the lead is very good. Playing, trailing in the second half, not the same quarterback. But I was just more impressed with what I saw from teams ahead of him. Christian McCaffrey has had an unbelievable year. Kyle Shanahan, if the Niners, who still, I think they need like 1 loss by Seattle and the Rams, who obviously play each other tomorrow, so they'll get one of those. If both Seattle and the Rams lose 1 more game the rest of the year, I think the Niners control their destiny for the 1 seed. That's a credit to Kyle Shanahan, who's done an unbelievable job this year. The Niners are the 9th best team in the National Football League. Dropping a spot this week. Again, it's because I was more impressed with teams ahead of them. At number 8, it is the Houston Texans. The Texans are the 8th best team in the National Football League, and here is why. So, again, this defense has been outstanding all season long. It's the best defense in all of football from top to bottom. The front 7, the back end, Derek Stingley, and you're talking about, obviously, guys like what's my guy's name? Will Anderson, Daniil Hunter, Henry To'oTo'o. They got some unbelievable. Al Shayer. They've got some amazing players, on that defense. D'Amico Ryans is a defensive coach, who's done a great job. The offense, though, is maybe starting to figure it out. Now, some of this is, They played Arizona. Everybody looks great offensively against the terrible Cardinals. But CJ Stroud, Nico Collins, we know they've got a great connection. They've run the football effectively. The O-line has gotten better over the course of the season, which I did not think would be the case. I was wrong on that. Kudos to Houston. And I'm telling you, man, if you are a division winner, if the Texans don't go on to win the AFC South, and you're a division winner, if you are a New England Patriots, if you are, potentially Jacksonville or my Steelers, you do not want to play them in the first round, because that offense does anything. If they show any, sense of what they were 2 years ago when CJ Stroud was Offensive Rookie of the Year, when it's like, hey, CJ might be a top 10 quarterback, might be a future star in this league for years to come. And this defense, that is terrifying. The Houston Texans are the 8th best team in the National Football League. Okay, I didn't say this last week because we didn't have a show on Wednesday, but when I made Bryson's best 10 last week, Jacksonville was the team that I had just on the outside looking in. So, of course, at number 7, it is the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags are the 7th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. So, it really comes down to one thing. Because despite the injuries to Travis Hunter and to Brian Thomas Jr., despite the fact that their defense dealt with injuries, defense, by the way, in Jacksonville, Josh Hines-Allen, they've been great. Trevor Lawrence has been special. And it is a beautiful thing to see, because I've had a lot of belief in this guy for a long time. Going back to his days at Clemson, I thought he was a generational light talent. He clearly hasn't lived up to that. He's not been a bust the way that some people try to make it out to be, but he's clearly underachieved based on the draft expectations. However, in the last 3 games, since Thanksgiving, really, since we carved up our turkey and ate our pumpkin pie, in that span, Trevor Lawrence has been the best quarterback in football, and we can show you the numbers. He's been phenomenal. 10 total touchdowns. By the way, he had 6 in one game last week. No picks, 59% completion. That's got to get better. But 855 total yards in 3 games. 123 passer rating, 81.9 QBR. The Jags averaging 36 points a game with a 3-0 record. Trevor's been awesome. I'm not saying he's like an MVP candidate or anything of that nature, but I said before year, make or break year for Trevor Lawrence, and he has delivered. He has been sensational. He has been a top 10 level quarterback in the National Football League. If you told me today the Jags are in the AFC title game, I'm not shocked, because I told you this guy had it. The physical intangibles, get the right coaching staff around him. The man hasn't even had his weapons. Travis Hunter's been out. Brian Thomas Jr. has been out, and he's still doing great. Now, also, in addition, Jacksonville's running game with Etienne and Tootin have been good. I thought the fact they traded, Bigsby to Philadelphia, I was like, what are they doing? This Tootin kid, he can play. Trevor can use his legs. Ran for a touchdown last week. So, this Jaguars seems scary, man. I know Puka Nacua is going on Dope's live streams and saying, oh, Jacksonville's legit. They are the 7th best team in the National Football League. At number 6, moving up 2 spots from last week, it is the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are the 6th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. I said it on Monday's show. There are no excuses now for Josh Allen, who I'm a fan of. He was my preseason pick to win league MVP. You're going to see where I've got him on Bryson's MVP ladder going into week 16. With that being said, Patrick Mahomes ain't going to be in the playoffs. Joe Burrow ain't going to be in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson, even if he's in the playoffs, he's not good in the playoffs, but he likely isn't going to be in the playoffs. Brother, the rest of the guys that you'll be facing up against have minimal or no playoff experience. If the excuse for years is, man, they just keep running to Kansas City, they keep running to a dynasty, they keep running to Andy Reid and Mahomes and that defense that's better than theirs, although that hasn't always been the case. But regardless, okay, here you go. If you don't win the division, hey, Tom Brady took the show on the road to winning a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. Patrick Mahomes won 2 road playoff games in your building and at the number 1 seed Baltimore to go on to win a Super Bowl. Eli Manning's done it. Aaron Rodgers did it. It can be done. And he's going to have the tools to do it. Bills' offensive line's great. The running game is the best in the league. Himself, James Cook, fantastic. 2 excellent tight ends, Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid. Am I in love with the receivers? No, of course I'm not in love with the receivers. If Khalil Shakir is your most dependable wide receiver 1, that's a little concerning. Josh Palmer and Brandon Cooks, that's not great. But 2 good tight ends, excellent running game. And if you have to outscore teams in the playoffs, guess what? Mahomes had to do that. Brady's had to do that. If you're on the level of those guys, if you're chasing greatness, let's see what you got. Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills are the 6th best team in the National Football League. The team that they beat, down 21-0, had a great second half against, is at number 5 in the AFC's. At number 5, down 3 spots, it is the New England Patriots. The Patriots are the 5th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. So, there has been a bit of an overreaction on this team. Like, oh, okay, they go from crap, they can win the AFC too. Oh, cool story, but we don't really fear them in the playoffs. Well, you should. Listen, Drake May, we have no clue who he's going to look like in the playoffs. I have high expectations. I think he's going to play well. The run game of Travion Henderson, who is all of a sudden, despite limited action to start the year, in the Offensive Player of the Year race, he's been awesome this year. I feel like every fourth carry is going to take it 50 yards to the crib. Mike Vrabel's probably the coach of the year. He's done an amazing job. Josh McDaniel, again, New England deals with a similar privilege with having Josh McDaniels that the Kansas City Chiefs deal with having Steve Spagnuolo, where great coordinators who were terrible head coaches, they're probably not getting another opportunity, so they get to stay as coordinators, and you get to keep them on your staff. New England is top 7 in the NFL. I think it was in scoring offense and scoring defense. If I'm getting that stat wrong, I apologize. Listen, they struggle in the second half of games. There's no two ways about it. They're first in first half scoring, 22nd in second half scoring. So that's got to get better. That's got to improve. Point differential in both halves aren't good either. Can they be a four-quarter team? That is the question. The Patriots are still excellent. They can still make a run to Super Bowl 60. They are the 5th best team in the National Football League. Up 6 spots from last week. At number 4, it is the Chicago Bears. The Bears are the 4th best team in the National Football League, and here's why. I have seen all I have needed to see. So obviously, the prediction of the year, let's keep it a buck. The prediction of the year, back in August when Caleb wasn't playing well, and Caleb's going to be a bust, and Tyson Bagent, look out, you might have an opportunity to start this year. Ben Johnson is like, don't like where development is. I'm not sure if Caleb's going to be the guy, is what folks in the media were saying. I said, calm down. Caleb's never worked with a coach like Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson's never worked with the quarterback like Caleb Williams. But both guys who are immensely talented in their own right, in their own field, they're eventually going to figure it out. And what do you know? The Chicago Bears in the tougher NFC are the number 2 seed in the conference. Caleb Williams, couple touchdown passes, including maybe the throw of the season. Rolling to his right, facing the Browns defense, by the way, which is quite good. Rolling to his right, falling out of bounds, and launches a rocket. It wasn't like one of these, floaters that maybe got tipped and landed on the arms of the receiver. I mean, we're talking zoom. I've talked about Caleb's arm strength since USC. It's one of the best in the NFL. It might be the best in the NFL. It's him or Josh Allen or Joe Milton, but that's a different conversation. And he zips in there to DJ Moore backcourt in the end zone. Throw of the year in the NFL. Combine that with the fact that, hang on a second, they're getting Tremaine Edmonds back from injury. They're getting Jalen Johnson back from injury. Dennis Allen, who we know is a bad head coach, but a great DC. He's doing a great job there. Ben Johnson, in the discussion for Coach of the Year. Monungai and Swift, great running backs. Good tight end play. If I see the Chicago Bears in the Super Bowl, I would not have one problem with that whatsoever. Even as a Steelers fan, I'd love to see it. The Bears are the 4th best team in the National Football League. At number 3, it is the Seattle Seahawks. They've been at this spot for like a month now. The Seahawks are the 3rd best team in the National Football League, and here's why. So, look, it's safe to say the turnovers and the fact that they weren't able to score a touchdown in Indianapolis last week, not great. But the fact of the matter is that was a game they needed to win in order to continue to maintain pace, not just in the NFC West, but potentially for the number 1 seed. They got the job done. This Seahawks defense, it's up there with them or Houston as the best defense in football. The Legion of Boom's in a class of their own. We know this. This defense might be faster. Not saying better, faster than the Legion of Boom. If we're talking about Devon Witherspoon, if we're talking about Eamon Morey, who's kind of a do-it-all player. He can rush the passer, he can play linebacker, he can play safety. I loved him out of college at South Carolina. Could not believe the Seahawks stole him when they did. Got a good defensive line to Marcus Lawrence, and with Leonard Williams. We know Mike McDonald is an excellent defensive coach. Need to see more from the offense consistently. Obviously, you've got not just a great one receiver who maybe has been the best number 1 receiver in football this year, Jackson Smith and Jigba, but you've also got Rashid Shaheed, who I loved in New Orleans, who's a speedster who helps get you into field goal range to win the game at the gun against the Indianapolis Colts. Sam Darnold's got to be more protective of the football. I still want him to take risk. I like the Seahawks running game. We'll see what they do tomorrow night against the Rams. I'll predict that in a few minutes. We'll see what they do against the Rams. They are the 3rd best team in the National Football League. The next team I've always thought had a great roster, no question. But they have earned my respect as the best team in the AFC. The 2nd best team in the National Football League, up 3 spots from last week. It is the Denver Broncos. The Broncos are the 2nd best team in the National Football League, and here is why. Biggest thing I need to see. If the defense doesn't have their best day, which they did not against the Packers, Jordan Love for 2.5 quarters was shredding that defense. That Broncos defense, for Pat Surtain, made a big-time play late. What's Bo Nix going to do when his back's against the wall? Let's just say his back's against the wall. He's been one of the most, if not the most clutch quarterback in football this season, but first 3 quarters, accuracy's not there. The deep ball isn't very good. It was all Sunday afternoon against Green Bay. And folks are going to say, well, Micah Parsons got hurt in the 3rd quarter. Well, yeah, what was Bo Nix doing before that? Dealing. All right, not turning the football over, 4 touchdowns, passing. We know he can use his legs. Better arm than he gets credit for. My issues with Bo Nix never been arm strength. It's been arm accuracy or deep ball accuracy. It was there with Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims, among others. And this defense, listen, it goes without saying. Nick Benito, Zach Allen, Jonathan Cooper, just absolute monsters up front. Nick Singleton, by the way, I'm wishing him the very, very best. Obviously dealing with the cancer at one point in the season. Great story. You got Pat Surtain. I don't know how much I trust Riley Moss. I'm telling you that I could see a playoff game in which he gets burned. What was the Broncos DB? I hate to give bad memories to Denver when I'm complimenting them, but the miracle at the mile high when Baltimore, from Joe Flacco to the late, great Jacoby Jones for the tying touchdown, they ended up winning in Denver in 2012. Who was the DB that misplayed the deep ball? I could see Riley Moss doing something like that, except in his case, it'd be a pass interference. I don't trust him as a number 2. Surtain's amazing, best corner in football. And that offense, great O-line, by the way. Looks like they're starting to figure out a consistent passing game, and Bo Nix has figured out. And Sean Payton's amazing, of course. They are the 2nd best team in the National Football League, and that leaves number 1. They've been, a couple weeks ago, they weren't number 1, but they've been the best team in football over the course of the last month and a half. They are the best team in football, the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are the best team in the National Football League, and here is why. So you saw it again on Sunday, and you can say, well, Detroit still put up 34. Listen, Detroit puts up numbers on everybody, especially now with Dan Campbell calling plays. I talked about that on Monday's show. The Lions' offense has been amazing with Dan Campbell calling plays. Ben Johnson level, not as creative, but production similar. But for the Rams, Matt Stafford spots them basically 7 points with the incredible play by Aiden Hutchinson on the pick. The Lions score the very next play, and Lions still score 41 points. And Matt Stafford, I talked about this on Monday, and I uploaded a short clip to social media today. He is... And it's not even remotely close. Not even remotely close. You'll see it on Bryson's MVP ladder. The MVP of the National Football League. Show his numbers this season. Okay, 1st in touchdowns. 2nd in yards per game. 13th in completion, but 66 is still good. 1st in pass rating. 4th in QBR. And he's the NFC's number 1 seed, and not just the toughest conference, but in the toughest division. Now, they got a big-time matchup, obviously, at Seattle tomorrow. In all likelihood, no Devontae Adams. I agree with what Sal said earlier. I think they're going to sit and should sit Devontae, veteran player, for the rest of the regular season. Have him ready to go for postseason football. Have him energized. Puka Nacua is a great number 1. This defense, even with the showing that they had it against Detroit, that's great offense indoors. The Lions were going to play well with their backs against the wall. I love this Rams defense personnel-wise, and offensively, it feels like they cannot be stopped right now, and Stafford is the hottest quarterback in football. And the Rams, of course, with Sean McVay, head coach, are the best team in the National Football League. So before we go to break, let's go and look at the top 10 teams in the NFL. So the Rams, they've been at number 1 for most of the second half of the year. So the Rams stay at number 1. Broncos up 3 spots to 2. Seahawks feel like they've been 3 for 6 weeks. The Chicago Bears up 6 spots to number 4. Patriots down 3 spots to 5. Bills up 2 to 6. Jags weren't ranked last week. I almost had them ranked last week, and they're very much in Bryce's best 10. This is Bryce's best 10 week 15. That should say week 16. I apologize. Number 8, the Houston Texans, who fell a spot. Niners, who fell 3 spots to 9. Eagles, who weren't ranked last week, are at number 10. When we come back, Bryson's MVP ladder and predictions for Rams versus Seahawks after this 1-minute break. Don't go anywhere. back to Carving Up Live. Appreciate everybody for stopping by on this Wednesday. Before we get out of here quickly, Bryson's MVP ladder as well as predictions for Rams Seahawks. Here is the MVP ladder as we leave week 15. So Stafford, as I said on Monday and I've said for a while, is the clear number one. Again, there were a lot more folks arguing Drake May, who I've got at the number 2 spot. So I think Drake's had an outstanding year. But a lot of folks who are arguing Drake May over Stafford, Matt Stafford, as we sit here today, has 14 more passing touchdowns than Drake May. I mean, like, it's not 5, 14. Josh Allen's at number 3. Again, I think he's clearly proven his value to the Bills this season because of their defensive struggles. The receiving core isn't good, although, again, he still does have 2 good tight ends and a legit running game and an excellent offensive line. So it's not like the Bills' offense, aside from Josh, is just devoid of talent. He's been excellent. Back-to-back comebacks against the Bengals and Patriots, in which he was sensational in both second halves. I'm still giving respect to him, too. He's not even the top 8. I think according to FanDuel or one of these sports books for MVP. Respect to Myles Garrett. From a Steelers fan to a Cleveland Brown, Myles Garrett's going to break the sack record on Sunday. Does that count for something? I mean, come on. And again, folks may look back, in years, in the future, be like, 17-game season, it used to be 60. Myles Garrett is going to do it in, what would this be? 15 games. Respect where it's due. And then Christian McCaffrey's my number 5. Christian McCaffrey, who is 3rd in the NFL this year in total yards from scrimmage, who has been the constant, the rock of the San Francisco offense. Injuries to Kill and Jawan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall on the offensive line and Brock Purdy. And you can always rely on number 23 to show up for you. He's been absolutely just, again, you can hand him the football, you can throw the ball in the back. Like, we know who Christian McCaffrey is. I think he's been excellent. I think if I had to have a top 5 for MVP, only guys I have above him in this order: Stafford, May, Allen, and Myles Garrett. I think Christian McCaffrey's been that good. Last thing before we leave the show, again, appreciate everybody for stopping by. Shout out to Sal Campisi for stopping by. Again, I cannot wait to echo what he said earlier. I cannot freaking wait for you guys to be able to see the House of Highlights, because he was excellent. I thought all the content creators, as well as as Johnny, who debated Formella, was absolutely outstanding. It was a really fun time in New York. Before we get out of here, the biggest Thursday night football game of the season, I don't want to say it ain't close, because there were some good ones this year, but this one's huge. This one could decide the number 1 seed in the conference. You've got the Los Angeles Rams, who I think are the best team in the NFL, going to Seattle to take on the Seattle Seahawks, who I think are the 3rd best team in the National Football League. The Rams on the road, favored -1.5, despite not having Devontae Adams, and I think that is going to matter, especially against a Seattle team who, we know the defensive performance they put up last week. Now, again, that's God bless them, but it's 44-year-old Phillip Rivers. It's not quite, 37-year-old Matthew Stafford, who's, again, the MVP of the league. But what I think you saw from Seattle as it relates to their offensive struggles last week, I think they knew we can play a C-plus game, and we're going to be Indianapolis because, again, God bless Phillip Rivers. Great press conference, and it's a great story. Phillip Rivers had 130 yards passing on 18 completions. It wasn't great. Our defense can do their job. We don't have to do much. Now, they probably didn't think they'd need a game-winning drive, but when the offense needed to kick into overdrive, they did. So that shows you something. I think the Rams showed some weak spots last week against the Lions. I think the fact that this can be in Seattle, nasty weather. Seattle's known for its precipitation on a Thursday night, short week, no Devontae Adams. I know I just said the Rams the best team in football, and Stafford's league MVP, and he should be, again, even if they lose this game. I think they're going to lose this game. Give me the Seahawks +1.5 and the outright W, 23-20 on a walk-off field goal at the gun. I think they get the W. They get 2 with 2 weeks left of the regular season, the top seed in the NFC West, top of the NFC West and the top seed in the NFC in totality. I still think the Rams will be fine, but I think the matchups favor Seattle. The Seahawks will win 23-20, take them +1.5 and the outright W. Seahawks 23, the Rams 20. It'll be a great matchup. I cannot wait to talk about it on Friday's show, because that was all the time I have for today's show. Appreciate everybody for stopping by. As always, be sure to catch Carving Up Live on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time, right here on YouTube, as well as on Twitch, X, Facebook, and on Instagram. Shout out to Sal Campisi. Follow his social media. Sal Rock _ does some great stuff. He kind of talked about what he does on his socials earlier in the show. Hot takes. I think he said something about Pokemon. So check out his stuff. Does a great job, and did a really good job debating at the House of Highlights debate. Very excited for you guys to see that in the future, and I'll be collaborating with some more content creators that were a part of that. But we will see you guys on Friday for a loaded show. College football playoff predictions, Rams Seahawks reaction. It's going to be a blast. And of course, NFL predictions, which we love to do each and every Friday. So have a great week, everybody. Stay safe out there. God bless y'all. Peace out. I'm sorry, I'm just not that high in the Steelers. I don't know what to tell you. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.